Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in. Today, we're going to be looking at Chainlink, and this has just happened. I mean, if we could flip it to the hourly, this just happened a few hours. Um, uh, Chainlink and its price action on its Bitcoin ratio. Remember, if you do like this video and the other videos that I make on this channel, be sure to hit the like button down below, and also consider subscribing. Uh, well, uh, Chainlink is up 5% against Bitcoin today. Unfortunately, Bitcoin is down 2.5%. So uh, Chainlink is up, 4% on the US dollar. You can do the math. Anyway, this is not so much talking about this 5% gain, 6% gain, 7% gain, maybe by the end of the day, who knows? But it's more so just how interesting Chainlink's um, return and getting back on track. Uh, we saw that Chainlink capitulated all the way down to 47 to 37,000 sats against Bitcoin, obviously, not talking about dollars, and we see a resurgence. We see it trugging along. Now we don't know if this is going to continue, if this is a continuation, or it's going to move sideways from here. But we can see how some people call it a bubble. Some other people call it something else. One way to look at markets, and especially things like Chainlink, is the the pendulum effect, I guess. When the force is so great on one side, uh, that the other that force gets translated and then swung back to you. And you can see this with these mini peaks, right? This amazing force on the upside and equal force to the downside. And you can also talk about it like a slingshot. So when you pull a slingshot, you're building all that tension on one side, it gets released, that tension gets released and moves the sling forward. But it can also, because of the force was so great on one side, it gets pushed to the other side, but the force is still great enough, strong enough to revert it back. And so this is kind of like what we see right now with the price action from the summer to now. We saw that this force was great, so big, the tension was so high, it got released, it capitulated. But when it came back down here, the force was still strong enough that we get a resurgence here. And you can say this is returning back to normal, and that's what I would like to call it. It's the return to normalcy with Chainlink. I don't think, if the force wasn't as great to the upside, we potentially might not go as low as 40,000 sats. You could argue, and I would argue that, um, it could have very well just stopped at where it is right now, the price at 65,000 sats. But because of fear and uncertainty, this was the final capitulation of Chainlink. And now we see a return to normalcy, like a few days of sideways moving action, 2 weeks, and now we see a resurgence. But we see that force being swung back into the other direction. And you see this here with a lot of times. Building a tension, released, swung back, released, swung back, release, swung back, etc. This is why Chainlink's chart is such a great looking chart. I mean, look at that. That's beautiful. Anyway, uh, this is what I'm talking about. Now, I'm not going to say here, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that we're going to be back at 170,000 sats, um, you know, in 2 weeks or something. I mean, that's possible, but I suspect that there's going to be a cooling off period, so or maybe a potential accumulation phase when we see this giant capitulation and a rise back up. Um, there could be uh, a little bit of a lull before we shoot back up. That's entirely possible. When we look at price history of the past, I mean that wasn't the case. As soon as it dropped back, it continued chugging along. Um, Breakdown, chugging along, breakdown, chugging along. Um, so we could, I mean, by all purposes, we could very well come back up to the highs. Keep in mind, 170,000 sat Chainlink is, let me get my calculator here. At those like Bitcoin levels at, our current prices, that's a $60 chain link. That's a 3x from here. So keep that in mind. Is it possible for Chainlink to go to $60? Of course, it definitely is. I actually think it will. Timeline, who knows? No one has ever expected that this move to the downside was going to be this long. Um, when we look at, just other metrics, I mean, we can use the 20-week if you'd like. That's one metric that I've used when looking at Chainlink, because it seemed that it respected the 20-week moving average fairly well. So you see on the blue line here is the 20-week moving average. Yes, it does dip below, but very briefly, relatively speaking, on a weekly basis. But here, look at that. Look at that move below the 20-week. So again, entirely possible that we could see a lull before we see the next leg up, and it could be, just back at, like, Chainlink's back in business, and it will reach its prior all-time highs in no time. Uh, we've never seen Chainlink in a bull run. This is all price action in a bear market. But considering this is what it can do in a bear market, I'm very excited to see what it can do when there's a lot more liquidity flowing around in the market. Anyway, that's all for today, you guys. Hats off to Chainlink for getting up. Where is it now? 6% above Bitcoin. I'll see y'all next time.